what charisma rolls made when snarking.
Yeah,
Okay, so enough about snarking.
See about hiding your emotions.
Hey. Hey. These guys talking about weird stuff. That's what we're doing. Alright. Well, hello. I didn't know whether I was going for welcome or was I going for hello. Ended up in the middle. We're doing D&D. That's really basically it. Like, we could sit around doing introductions all day. Scott's getting dark and brooding. Arvine is living the life. And Dean is has got a guitar. And that's a great face, man. I'm jealous of how elastic that face was. I'm gonna make that an emote. Yeah, basically. There's no Vale today. He doesn't really have a good excuse. He's just kind of gone. So, shame him.
I already told you. It's because he's getting his taint tickled by that elven chick. She's like, I'm gonna be a bitch to you.
More like he was too turned on but couldn't get her to bed, so he's off like busting his nut in a corner somewhere.
Nut bust corner.
Just no return straight off. There we go. I'm not
like, I'll meet you later, Forik.
So, if there's nothing, like, we're just gonna actually fucking roll right into the start. Where we left off, you are in the Crimson Mountain, which, if you don't know, is the home city of the Mountain Dwarves. Huge city. Half of it's built into the mountain. The more touristy parts are outside. You're in the more outside parts. Smoky, polluted, busy. It's a dwarf's dream. I would say wet dream. They don't have wet dreams. They're very dry people. Aside from...
This is not right.
So, and they broke up into two teams. A party who are actually friends. And I need to repeat that so often because it surprises me. It was Caitlin and Gilwyn, the bottom rung, teamed up. They went literally going. They're trying to look for fire powder, right? And pistols. The first ever pistol ever you've been seeing. Guns. You're looking for that. You know the dwarves made them, or the dwarves have them, or something. You literally went to a market and tried to buy some. Thorak and Vale went the smarter route of trying to find a smuggler den, basically, where the smuggling takes place in the city. Which makes sense. A smarter route. But they found it. They basically know that this is they found a flower shop called Maggie's Horn that is absolutely a guise for smuggling in some way, shape, or form. But they were told, well, Vale was told to fuck off. Thorak was basically told, you don't work for the right people, you aren't allowed here. So, where we leave off, well, where we begin, is with Thorak. Vale is visibly defeated. And the reason why he had such trouble with the thief woman, the smuggler, was because he was sort of sexually intimidated by her. Like, he's so awkward with women, he like completely flustered. He went out afterwards and like apologized to Thorak because he completely got shaken up by it. He kind of shakily says to Thorak that, well, I'm going to keep looking for a way inside the Thieves Guild here, these smugglers. Yes, I'm going to sort this out. You shouldn't come with me. This is clearly run by elves.
I can see your action from here. You can go and point it elsewhere. It's making me very uncomfortable.
You are at crotch height for him.
Is that another block of granite?
he kind of like blushes, and he blushes like a bright gold. She's kind of beautiful. And whisks himself away somewhere. Thorak, I'll leave it up to you whether you immediately go and find your friends. I actually realized you split into two, and you had no way of getting back up with each other. You didn't go, okay, we'll meet at this tavern. You were just split up. But, Thorak, you will be able to find them for reasons I will explain. Or do you want to do anything else on your own, first of all?
I think because it's the first time being inside of a real city, I will actually like I'm gonna go find them. I'm gonna get there eventually, but I probably wouldn't be for like a few more hours. I'm gonna spend a little time trying to find like a shop that has like a decent mirror and some privacy, and actually try to get like a good look at myself for the first time in a long while. So once again, if there's like an area where I can have like a mirror and some privacy, I really want to just like look at myself and investigate all of the details. But then when finally like
you're like going on the way there.
Then I meet up to them.
Yeah. So basically, how it goes is, I mean, they're going to do something first because of the way time works out. You're technically in the future to them right now. This part of the city you're in, the sort of western lower side, is very rich human touristy. That's what it's built for. Human tourists, elven tourists, and by tourists I mean more accurately business partners. The Dwarven society is very businessy, and it got very businessy very fast. So, like, you're leaving a flower shop. You absolutely find a boutique-type place that you kind of hobble into. It doesn't seem too busy, but busy enough that you don't stand out with, and you find a mirror, and you actually can look at yourself. And do you take your cloak down to, like, really, really look?
I mean, again, you said like there's nobody around?
There's people around, but they're not paying you any mind. This is like a dwarven tailoring shop that deals to humans specifically. And there is currently a couple who are actually having like a wedding suit made, and all the staff is paying attention to them.
I find myself disgusting, and so I would not want to subject other people to that. And not to mention, just kind of like, oh God, what if somebody comes like tries to set me on fire or something? So looking around and not seeing an opportune moment, I just be like, fuck. And I'll keep moving on. And if I ever find the situation, that's fine. I'm perfectly fine with just like burning time before I rejoin the rest of the party.
You're like,
so,
I know exactly what you want to do. You want to go the way, you want to go towards them, and the reason why you know is, you know, this is a dwarven city, everything's made of stone. You can actually feel them through the stone. You spent like a good week and a half or so of time with them. You know where they are roughly, so you're just sort of trudging off. But you're not doing it, you're not going as fast as possible. You're like really taking your time. You're soaking in the city, right?
It's a couple things. One, soaking in the city. Two, trying to find that for myself. And three, you know, I honestly like Gilwyn. I think he's a good guy. And if Gilwyn gonna get some, then you know what? He doesn't fix the nipples off of some hobgoblins for nothing. You know, he's gonna.
That's true.
He's gonna. You know, I'm saying I'm hooking a brother up. So I give him a little alone time with Caitlin.
So, Caitlin and Gilwyn, you just went to a market. Like I mentioned last week, this isn't the kind of city that has one big market you go to, but lots of little markets. Mostly it's actually short storefronts. But you found a little marketplace, you found a guy who he knew about fire powder, but was not willing to talk about it, which really raised the sketch levels of the whole situation. Where are you going to go from there?
Well, I learned about Tuscany or something. Was his name?
Tuscany. You were given the name of a alchemist named Tuscany, who specifically what you were told, because I doubt you'll remember all of it, but you would, because this literally just happened. He lives near the old king's statue garden, and the smell of his smoke bothers dwarves in the garden.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And that's the link you were given, one way or another.
And I guess Gilwyn would be... Caitlin, do you think this is a good lead? Do you think we should take a look, or should we go find the others? And what are you thinking?
Well, I mean, we don't have much to go on at the moment. I don't know how long they'll take. We might as well go there, just drop by before we meet up with them.
I agree. And if the smell's bothering the dwarves, he must be doing something pretty stanky in there.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think we'll head over there.
Okay, it's no trouble at all to find this place because Caitlin reads Dwarven. Can read the occasional signs, and this is signposted, and you can tell why. This garden is like a national treasure kind of thing. It's a huge statue garden. Statue gardens are a dwarven idea. Their gardens, and there's maybe a bit of grass every now and again, but they are mostly showing off statues and engravings and usually stories. And this is specifically like the dwarven lords. I mean, it eventually, a long time ago, kings. Now it's more sort of lords. And you notice the current one. There is a statue for them, made of copper metal, and it is graffitied. It's got kind of, it's not even real like words. It's just had like white paint thrown at it, which assumingly is like some kind of insult, saying that he's pale and weak or something. Who knows? But you do notice, you go through this place. It's quite busy, but not like bustling like the rest of the city, like people walking around. There's just a lot of people sitting about, stuff like that. Both of you feel free to give me a perception or an investigation roll. That's really depending on which way you want to go about looking for this person. You know, perception is quick glancing, investigation is walking around, really taking your time. Basically, is how I like to DM it.
Well, given that we know what we're looking for, as much as my perception is better than my investigation, I'm going with investigation because it seems more like what we'd actually do.
Take your time.
I agree.
Nice +2 mod on that, Gil.
I don't see anything.
Okay, so Gilwyn, you're actually taking in the art, and I know what Gilwyn does. I've only played with Gilwyn for 2 weeks, but I know the character already. He is like trying to work out why this statue is graffitied. That is like one of those things that's just like irking him in the head, not like annoying him, just like why? I need to know why. This is like a puzzle. And I don't think you'd go so far as to ask people, but you would like be looking like, oh, that person's looking at, did they do it? And like, that's what you're bothered with. Well, Caitlin, I actually think you would ask around if like, oh, I've heard people being bothered by smoke in the area. What's up? Absolutely. And you are pointed in the rough direction of all around this thing, and occasionally above it are buildings, sort of apartments. And you are pointed, and you notice there is an open window, and there is a little smoke coming out. Whether it's the wind or just whatever's going on in there right now, the smoke isn't blowing into the garden, so you didn't notice it by that particularly. But it's close enough as like, oh, okay, in like the right time it would go in here. Also, it's raining right now, so whatever smell's coming from there, you are more noticing the smell of rain. And in this city, the rain, you know, obviously is going to be mixed in with the ash and the soot. And it's not the most pleasant. It's not the most pleasant smell. So you definitely don't notice anything strange smell-wise. But you do see the building, and you can quickly gather Gilwyn, and
tap him on the shoulder, point, like, look over there, you sort of deal.
Caitlin,
Stop admiring the statue.
Look at this dwarf's bulge. Do you think that was a personal touch by the? Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I just raised an eyebrow at it. Then when we're walking away, I keep a step back and look at what he was.
You actually glance, yeah. Go ahead and both give me some perception rolls.
Oh, come on that?
Yeah.
Perception rolls on the bulge? Come on.
Yeah.
Not 20 on the ball, on the bulge.
What game am I playing right now?
My game, bitch. I'm in charge here.
Oh,
so,
God.
I actually need to look something up real quick. Can you believe that?
You have Ollie rules for penis size? Is that what's going on here?
Well, this is the guy who had me roll a d20 to determine whether my character had ever had sex or not.
That did happen.
Well,
once.
you know what, Ian? For you, it probably is just.
It
chance.
was in a fantasy land. Okay.
And we're done. Goodbye.
Okay. What you notice is like, okay, yeah, bulge. There's a sizable bulge. It must be deliberate. You can't not have that deliberate. But you actually pay a bit more attention. This is the one that's graffitied. He's of a dwarven lord of the city right now named Fearlock Copperbeard. And that clicks in your mind because you've travelled the world, more or less. You've travelled the civilized part of the world, is the easiest way to say it, like the middle strip of the land. Copperbeard? Huh. There's a city sort of to the south called Copperbeard's Hold. Is there a relation there? And that's what you'll get. Oh, there's some kind of connection. Maybe that's where all the hate is. Who knows? But also, because I'm nice, that easily goes into you finding this building that you need to go into, like the actual entrance, which You're like, oh, you just walk into the building. No, this is a Dwarven city, you know. There might not be a door on this building. You might have to enter underground through a ladder. Who you wouldn't know. But there is a doorway that is guarded. But like, not by a guard, but like someone who's probably just sitting at the door every now and again to check who goes in and out. But that person is asleep. So you can clearly walk in. And this building is nice. These are fairly small-looking apartments, but, you know, high quality. Whereas, like, instead of paying for more space, you're paying for a little bit nicer quality in the whole affair. Which makes sense. You've got to have enough a good deal of money if you're paying for a guarded building.
Yeah. So we're... do you want to just walk straight in, Kaelin, or do you want to wake up this guard and ask permission?
I feel we should... Yes, I feel I'd be more comfortable with asking permission before strolling into someone's property.
Can you wake him up, please? I'm quite intimidated.
Certainly. I'll wander over and just tap him a couple of times on the shoulder. Any response?
So it's a Dwarven guy. Bald, big beard. Quite old. And, you know, dwarves all look old to you. But very old. And he's like... And he wakes up, and the dog that was asleep behind him that you didn't even see woke up as well. Like... And he, like, reaches out for it and is like... Hello! Hi. What?
Hello, sir. Is this the House of Tuscany? I believe the name is we're looking for?
He, like, clearly thinks for a while. You can see the cogs turning. Oh! The demon! What you want with the demon? You buying from him?
We were. It was suggested we come here. My employer, I motioned back again. My employer has an interest in alchemy. Was hoping to learn something of a trade from this gentleman.
Oh, Farday da. Well, don't let me stop you learning about alchemy.
Thank you, sir. I'll just give him a small bow and like go.
Walk in.
So go.
He actually also would be like, room 21.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You can easily get away around. You can walk through the building. You can find room 21. It's closed, obviously. You can actually hear, without doing any kind of perception rolls, that there's a definite sound going on inside, like a muffled, maybe bubbling.
I'll knock on the door a couple of times, I think.
It takes a little time before the door is opened. Standing before you is a tiefling, which explains why repeatedly this person has been referred to by a demon. Actually, everyone who's referred to him has called him a demon. Red skin, swept back horns, very short hair. Both of you do history rolls about tieflings real quick, just because I'm curious. He's wearing fairly nice clothes, not noble wear, but, you know, it's a waistcoat with everything's in black or blue, and it goes very high up the neck, almost hiding as much skin as possible. Caitlin, you can tell that
Ollie, do you mind if I roll too, so I know what I would know for the future?
Yeah. Not that this would be triggered by anything. Or,
No. Just curious what it is.
Yeah,
You said
absolutely.
history?
Yeah. Caitlin,
so not much.
Again, you travel the world. There are civilizations almost of tieflings in this world, as well as random ones. You're fairly sure he's a Bastilian tiefling, and you know why people don't trust them. There are tieflings from the far north who have blue skin and sort of ice in their veins, essentially. But they're rarer and mostly trusted, sort of, but not really, because they're still demons. But these guys aren't trusted because a long time ago, and you don't know the specifics, you've just been warned about it, probably actually by your parents. The reason why these tieflings exist, they used to be humans. The humans made a deal with the devil, and it's not like they bred with the devil, they just literally made a deal with the devil to survive, to get more knowledge, and this is what happened to the generations. Which is why no one fucking trusts them, aside from a few places. Which is why I also have this, Bastilian tieflings also has sort of a stereotype about being smart because of that.
The funny thing is, the deal was to not have the entire planet blow up, so they actually are the heroes of all of life everywhere. And so they're like, listen, we'll give you our soul if you just save everything. And they're like, okay, cool. But now everybody hates you. It's like, no!
Hates your descendants, which is even worse, really.
Yeah.
For all time.
Hates your whole bloodline, your genetic lineage.
But Gilwyn and Thorak, you don't know that. Gilwyn knows that people don't trust tieflings. You don't even know, but you know they come in all shapes and colours. You've seen a purple-skinned one before. No one trusted them.
Pretty nice looking.
Yeah. But yeah, you see that. He opens the door. He's wearing gloves. He has a tail, all of that. The tail is actually covered mostly by like a leather sort of sheath. And he's sort of... You can see behind him. It's not a very big room. You can see the entirety of the room. There is a bed. There is a sort of small little, tiny little kitchen set up. And most of the room is taken up by an alchemy table. And of course, you're actually hit by a really nice well. Have you ever gone to a candle shop? And all of those smells hit you at once? And your brain can't really process it? Because you smell everything at once. It's this. It's not an unpleasant alchemical smell. It's like flowers, apples, it's perfume. It's a lot of perfume all at once. You're smelling hit by a wave of it as it leaves the room. And there actually is sort of like a pinkish cloud of the perfume that sort of billows off the table and out of the door. And he kind of notices that and's like, who are you exactly?
I was talking to a guy down at the market. His name is Blaze. I don't know if you know him. But me and my friend, well, actually just me, is my bodyguard, Caitlin. Say hello, Caitlin. Be nice.
Hello, sir.
I am a starting alchemist. I don't know really anything. And my friend Blaze, I think it would be fair to say we're friends now because I've spoken to him once.
I roll my eyes in the background.
I think you could help me out with a couple of little ingredients here and there, you know, get a new starter going.
He kind of looks you up and down and is a little nervous. Give me a persuasion roll real quick.
Oh, Jesus.
Come on, you're doing a good roll.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then like he's like, okay, quickly, the smoke will leave, and I don't want the smoke to leave. It's very valuable. Like kind of actually pulls you in, and this is not a very big room. This is, like I said, it's a dwarven room, and it's clearly small, but like a dwarven room could be like 5 foot by 5 foot, and they'd kind of be happy. This is probably enough for a dwarf to be like, oh, I've got stretching space, you know? It's a little cramped for 3 humans in the room. But it pulls you in, Caitlin follows, he closes the door. He doesn't lock it, but you do notice a couple of locks. It's not like weird to have 1 lock, it's not even that weird to have 2. 3 is a little suspect. I don't teach, I've never taught. I don't really know the going rates, but I could. I would bear. I will have to inform you. As a matter of factly, I am not your average alchemist. I do not make explosive casks or healing potions. I make perfumes, specifically. Occasionally makeups, but this is my focus. So I don't know how exactly, and it's these I'm adding. That's not me trying to think of things to say. He is nervous and stammering. Not so nervous that he like wants you to leave, but clearly not a speaker. He's actually very handsome, but he's not a speaker. So I don't know if I'm exactly the kind of person that you're looking for. Unless you are interested in this craft, in which case, bravissimo, I am so happy for that. But I doubt you are. I think you were looking for something slightly... And his, like, tail flicks. Like, slightly different.
Well, as a starter, it would be nice to, you know, dip my feet in a couple of little perfumes. I'm just interested to see, do you have anything to show me?
Well, this is my best seller. I mostly sell to high-ranking nobility in the city, and like shows you and shows something, sprays it. It seems like a very it would be very simple to you as a player, like a simple rose perfume, but that's not actually that simple to make. And even then, it's a very tiny bottle. It's very small. They're like this big, and he sprays it. And it's like, and this has like a good few hundred uses. The compression is very important for the modern lady or elven man. So this sounds quite well if I can get the right people. And he actually starts explaining the basis for making this, and it's one of those things where this alchemy is way closer to actual science than magic. If there's a little bit of magic, he actually shows, like, he goes to light a Bunsen burner, and he does with with his hand. But
as at the first opportunity I get, when he turns away from me and Caitlin, I sort of turn to Caitlin and like do an eyes and sort of try and signal look around the room while I'm distracting this guy.
I assume I was doing that anyway. I'd be like standing at the side of the room, like making myself look like a good bodyguard, but I'd be observing everything that in the room.
Okay, Caitlin, make me 2 checks. One is an investigation roll, one is a stealth roll. Or a deception roll, your choice.
Well, my deception is marginally better than mine. I'll do investigation first, and get something, and then...
This room is very simple. His alchemy bench isn't that big. He does have a chest, and you are assuming that this cat holds a mixture of money and equipment. But there's not a lot here to look at. There's no bookcase, but you do note that there's a lot of books under the bed. And a sword under the bed, not sheathed. But not a lot else. Very simple. Everything here is high quality, but there's not a lot of it. He goes on explaining again. He goes through actually does start explaining some basic principles, which, you know, they're basic, but they kind of go over your head, Gilwin, because he's explaining very fast, and he's showing you, but it kind of goes over your head. How to infuse things, all this like alchemy gibberish, just like equivalent fantasy technobabble.
All the while I'm going, interesting. No, I see, yes.
The question is when are you going to cut in and ask actual questions? Because he could keep going for a while, it looks like.
I'm going to stop him, and I'm going to... I'm going to pull out the vial of gunpowder that I bought from Blaze.
Yes.
And I'm going to say, do you know anything about this?
I know of gunpowder. Yes, you're not... one of the you found me from this Blaze fellow, right? He wasn't a blacksmith.
I should also say that I dropped my accent as I asked that question intentionally.
He doesn't seem to notice. Well, he does. You don't even need to do an insight roll. He does visually tense up. His tieflings are quite easy to read if they're the ones that have tails, because their tail is like his tail tensed. You know, he's quite nervous. For one reason or another, that might have an effect. That might be part of it, honestly.
I like do this with the vial and try and cast prestidigitation on the vial to give it a red sheen, like the gunpowder that we know of.
The firepower, yeah.
Yes.
You absolutely can do that. It's not going to be perfect replica, but he. Roll me an insight roll, both of you. But it's very clear that he notices that it's not just a trick of the light, that it's not like you are casting a spell to do this deliberately. He knows that for sure.
I am assuming that he doesn't count as a merchant, because it's a bit borderline.
No, he's probably the kind of person that sells to sellers.
Yeah, makes sense.
Kaelin, this guy looks scared now that you've done that. And he looked nervous before. Maybe it's just actually he's not a good speaker, which is kind of obvious. But now it's gone from nerves to actual fear. And you notice his eyes glance to the sword on the floor. And it's not like the sword is on the floor. It's under his bed, but it's not fully tucked in. You know, you can see a little bit of the handle. But he kind of glances to that. I think it's time for you to leave. I've taught you all that you know. I can't really teach you anything about gunpowder and explosions and those kind of battles. Honestly, I can't. I'm not a combat alchemist. I know they exist. I have worked with a few. That's all. I can't help you there. You'll have to go to someone else. Someone else, please.
Excuse me, sir. I can't help but notice you seem rather afraid all of a sudden, and I can assure you we mean you no harm. We are just looking into things, and it is certainly no lie that Sir Gilwyn is interested in alchemy. We are just doing some investigations on the side. If you know anything about this, or anyone who might know of it, it would be very appreciated if you could let us know. We won't bring any trouble for you.
Persuasion roll. Boom.
Here's where I get my bad luck. Yep, there's a bad luck.
I mean, again, that's not horrible, but you rolled a 2. You just have a good modifier, and he is not having it. Honestly, he kind of like, in the same way that he pushed you in, he actually pushes Gilwyn back, and Gilwyn's not the physically strongest person. He's not either, but it's still enough to push you back. He opens the door and actually pushes Gilwyn out into the hallway, and goes to do the same with Caitlin. He's trying to not do it in the rudest way. He's not like shove. He's like, but yeah, definitely wants you to leave. Really.
And I can imagine he tries to push Caitlin, and just Caitlin is effectively a wall of muscle in comparison to him. Before I let him push me out, I will just say, "Are you being threatened or anything, sir?"
Give me another persuasion roll, but just bear in mind it's going to be a hard one.
Yeah, I know, but it's just a guess. Oh, that was so close to a 17!
You can tell the people at the forge to leave me alone. I don't want anything to do with this business anymore. I helped you once, and a few times before that, but that was the last time. I can't be dealing in blood. That's not who I am. And I imagine, Caitlin, you let yourself be pushed out the room, right?
Yeah.
And he actually closes the door, and you you clearly hear lock.
Turn to Gil. Well, the forge, wherever that is.
You are in a Dwarven city.
Yeah.
That does not narrow it down.
Well, a forge perhaps would be the better phrase, I suppose. But well, we got something out of that at least.
Yeah, I'm sorry if that was a bit forward of me, but I didn't really want to listen to any more about perfumes and flowers.
No, I am. That's quite okay. You did a better job than I could have done. I apologise. I could have done more to perhaps calm him down. But at any rate, perhaps we should now meet up with Thorak and Vale and see if they have had any more luck than we have.
Yes, maybe they've heard of this forge.
Quite possibly.
Okay, so you leave the building. Just sort of naturally, you end up leaving through the Old King's statue garden, and you quite easily see Thorak. He's not the only dwarf stumbling around here. In fact, there's a lot of elderly dwarves here. This is the kind of place that an old man would go on their daily walk to keep their legs going. But you clearly see Thorak. He found you somehow, and there he is. He's kind of walking up, actually to you, basically.
Ah, Sir Thorak, what a coincidence.
There he is.
Yeah. It is not coincidence. I've been searching for you.
And you found us in this bigger city. I must say I'm quite impressed.
Humans stand out.
True enough, I suppose. So did you find anything useful? We have a little bit, but I think you have the better chances with the route you were taking things.
A little bit. There was Erwin Kunt. She knows things, but would not share them. It seems our friend is a little less persuasive than we thought he might have been. So when he fell, he left the shop, and so I tell her that she's a cunt and she'd not help me either.
Well, yes. We have at least found that the production of this red powder, it does go on in the city, and that there is a specific forge somewhere in the city that has done some business with it, although I could not find anything more out than that. don't really know which is the best direction to go from here. There's many forges in this city, after all. I'm almost tempted to say we should go back and try your elven lady, but don't know.
That'd be very foolish. Think about it. Out of nowhere, a dwarf that she does not know with different accents than she has comes and asks questions with an elf she does not know that asks questions, and then moments later a couple of humans comes up and asks questions and she does not know them. It's suspicious, say the least. Shit idea.
I cross my arms for sort of like thinking, and I say, well, who's to say that all the forges in this dwarven city, that maybe the coolest name for a forge would be the Forge? Maybe
Listen,
we should...
Listen,
I'm not even mad.
You're a little off base there. You're thinking like your father, except not as good. So.
While
Sorry.
I understand where you're coming from, Sir Gilwyn, if it would be considered the coolest thing for a forge to be called, wouldn't a lot of forges be called that?
Well, who's to say that it's not the Forge of Littlestone?
Gilwyn, listen. The way that our friend here, he went off to solve problem. The way that our friend spoke with this woman, he would often make things with hands that I don't understand. But he would also speak in words that she seemed to understand. And I do not know much of this elven language, but he kept saying flower. I know this word because it's dainty elven shit. So he often spoke of flower. Maybe something to do with that.
Can I do an insight check to see if I recognise what he's talking about?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, their conversation was in Elven.
You're trying to work out how Vale spoke, and considering it's in Elvish, and you do know that thieves can't exist. A language of the thieves is all in an innuendo. You're fairly sure that this flower he was talking about is the fire powder. It was just his way of innuendoing, that into the form of a flower. So that's what you figure.
I think Thorak, he was speaking in code.
I get this. I understand. I watched, but what I'm getting at is this his words, or are these her words? Like, is this thing that we can use moving forward?
So, what do you mean to ask? Is this whether this is a common phrase, or it was something Vale came up with off the cuff to explain what he was trying to do with her?
He says to you in Dwarven, Caitlin, you are brilliant as always.
I just smile at that.
Aww.
It is possible, but we would not know how to identify anyone else, even if that might know of this. I suppose we could go around dropping the dropping hints about about flowers into any conversation with any merchant we have, but that would take a long time.
It seems to be stupid. We should not, like you said, it'd take time.
Yes, I have one other suggestion. The gentleman that we got this forge off of was a tiefling, and he was quite insistent that he wouldn't work with the forge again. He did it once, and it involved, and he is not a fighter and does not wish to do that again. Perhaps we could look into whether there are any forges that have been seen or known to have dealings with tieflings.
Tiefling? What is this tiefling?
Tiefling is... They are a race that were originally humans until their ancestors made a pact with demons, quite frankly. They are often referred to as demons.
Yes. And I say a dwarven word that roughly translates to burned soul in common, but it's a dwarven word. And And I'm like, oh yes.
Yes, I'm not. I hadn't come across that word before, but that makes sense.
And-
I can't imagine there are many tieflings in this city. If we look into into any forges that have had dealings with them, we might be able to pinpoint which forge this was.
Certainly, that's the course of action is not bad, but you go around and ask questions like, "Oh, you do deal with devil. Oh, you do deal with devil. Oh, you do deal with devil." It's raised suspicion, and we try to be like the little folk on this one. We try to walk below where others are looking. Yes, so perhaps. Perhaps your idea is not bad, but instead, perhaps we should lay our ears to the ground and listen to where it is that this tiefling goes, but not by asking ahead or in the past, but instead by follow directly, and more than that, perhaps we should follow this elf as well.
Well, the tiefling made it, Tuscany, I should call him, so Tuscany, referring him to him as a tiefling is quite rude, but
I mean, he is one.
Yeah. Well.
This is not rude, this is fact.
Oh, yes, but I still do not like to refer to someone by their race if I know their name, but at any rate, yes.
Semantics.
At any rate, he was quite insistent that he would not have anything more to do with these people. I suppose it isn't impossible that if he thought we were with them, he might go and try and meet with them to tell them to back off again, but I certainly wouldn't, it would certainly be unreliable at best. Don't really have much else in the way of leads. We're going to have to tail someone at this point.
Yes, so this elven woman, not a woman like you. You are a great beauty, but this is, yeah. Anyways, her thighs are way too small. Perhaps we send our friend here, Gilwin. He's good with words. Perhaps he speak with her. Use the charm, and not he doesn't try to get information. He tries to make friends. Discretion.
That seems a good idea as far as I'm concerned.
And then that will work for that over there. But you and I will have to figure out how to deal with this tiefling. That certainly seems a good idea to me, but I do worry. I am not exactly one for tailing people. I sort of look down, motion at the chainmail. I'm like, No.
Yeah. Plus, I mean,
No.
I would have disadvantage on any stealth roll. So.
You've already told me that to follow is a dead end, because should we follow, then we get nowhere, because he does not do dealings anymore. Yes, so perhaps the best plan is to in fact look into the past. We ask, we question.
That is, I would. While that sounds an ideal way to go about this, I wonder, do you have any concrete ideas about that? Because I wouldn't know where to start. I mean, this is my specialty, obviously.
I do. You see, the last place where we were, I spent the last of my gold. I in fact only have one electrum left. Electrum, that's all. So, I have 5 silver left. How's it weird? It's existed since first edition, you fucker. Sounds like a lot of magical energy put into a currency. You can't forge it, right? You can't fake it. So anyways,
basically, because I'm an idiot and I muted myself, money is magic.
Okay, moving on. So I say, I do in fact know my way around a hammer. So perhaps I go and I take job here and there to the smith, and I ask questions there, and then you go around to this pub and that pub, and you have a drink or two. Perhaps people buy them for you, and you ask questions there. I understand that this is more something that is good for Gilwyn, but he will have his tongue tied, perhaps more ways than one.
I smirk at that. Yes, I mean, it's not my speciality, but I can certainly sit in a pub and listen.
And understand that many bartenders, they speak.
Yes, quite.
Okay, so with that plan,
We have to go
all
three separate
three of
ways.
you are going separate ways, which is fine. Just who do we start with? So to recap this
hang on,
entire conversation.
Before we go anywhere here, can we all agree on a pub to meet up at afterwards this time?
Yes.
Is
Not
there
the same one you're
no-
going to be working in,
No.
or you're going to be exploring in. Yeah, you can just go to the nearest one.
So there's like 33 pubs, and we're going to choose one that you're not going to scout out and ask questions in, and you're going to go scout out and ask questions the other 32. They're all going to be failures. We're going to meet back up at this one pub, and they're going to be like, oh, yeah, we have all the answers.
Yeah.
Fucking dice roll.
So to recap, Gilwyn is going to go talk to the elven woman at the flower shop, try to potentially woo her to get her to tell her secrets naturally.
You're welcome, Dean.
Thorak is going to go to the forges to ask questions. And I'm not even pointing the right way. This is the right way on my Skype. You're down this way. Caitlin is going to go to taverns to ask questions. But both of you are questioning. All of the idea of this is it's going to be slow burn, very casual, right? You're not going to be like, oh, about that tiefling alchemist, eh? No, you're going to be gaining people's trust is the idea, basically, right? And getting them to tell you things.
The whole plan is that we're going to spend like 3 weeks or 4 weeks doing this slowly over a period of time, so that next week when we have what's his name back, Neil back, it's going to be like, oh hey, what are we? Oh, a month passed. We haven't seen your character. There's wanted posters or like missing, like on milk cartons or milk bottles.
Okay, so I think we're going to start with Gilwyn. And important to note, Thorak...
Yes, that's what I wanted.
Caitlin goes off to do her thing immediately, but Thorak shows Gilwyn the way to this place.
I'll show you the way.
It's the it's because it's also not that far from where most of the forges are. So he takes you to a part of the city, which again is quite nice, not very dwarven. To a flower shop. He didn't mention it was a flower shop. Now him talking about Vale, talking about flowers makes a little more sense. But it's a flower shop, and he says, you can look in. There's a very large glass window, and you can see there is an elfin woman there, and it's actually closing right now. It's nearing the end of the day. The shop is closing. They've not turned locked the doors, but they're clearly packing away all the stuff that they have, doing the routines that they'd have at the end of the night, which would be mostly probably watering plants, honestly. But it's very clear that's going on. She's standing there with Thorak.
Is this the place, Thorak?
Yes, this is the right place.
A flower shop.
Yes. They were speaking about the flowers, but not like daisy or sun or dandelion or lilac or
I'm
mums
impressed.
or-
I'm impressed with your compendium of flowers. That's very impressive. Are you sure you don't want to? Are you sure you don't want to flirt with this elf? Last chance before I do it and get married.
There is no ass. If there is no arse to grab onto, how do you know that she's a woman?
I didn't want to learn that
She
about
could
you,
boy.
Thorak. I'll see you later.
Do you
I'll walk.
think
And Forex starts limping off to the forges. You enter this place. That's a little surprising. This woman is a high elf woman, dressed in. There's a sort of shop-ish uniform, but it's just like the color of the tunic that they're wearing. And high elf, white veil, probably saw something in her. Gold hair, blah, blah, blah. Basic high elf, really. Basic high elf bitch. There are dwarven women working in this shop who are probably her underlings, it kind of looks like. They're doing most of the work while she's writing something. One of the dwarven women come up, clearly everyone notices you enter because the door goes ding, 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 ding. But also, it's, probably actually past their closing time, they just haven't knocked up yet. Oh, are you,
you're that guy? Oh, you're that guy.
Do you need anything urgently, sir?
Is there a counter in this?
Oh yeah, you're not being talked to, but the high elf woman is behind the counter. You're being talked to by one of the dwarven caretakers who is actually in the storefront, watering flowers.
Okay. I go. How are you doing? I walk straight past there to the counter. Slam my elbow on the counter and go, "Hi, how you doing? Going down again."
Hello. Do you need something? An urgent late night flower order, perhaps?
Oh! Oh! Oh!
What time is it? The day's gotten away from me a little bit.
There's a sundial outside, sir, if you absolutely need to know. I don't keep track of such things personally, honestly. I do not.
Well, then how do you know when it's time to get that pretty face into a tavern and shove alcohol down it?
I'm not... She's not even... She doesn't even, huh. She's like, I don't really go to taverns. I'm a far more professional woman. You'll find the rest of the workers here heading off. I will be working.
All right. I lean away and look around the store. I'm like, pretty good. Is this your place?
I'm in charge for the current moment. Maggie, who named the shop, is far too rich and far too busy to actually work the place now, of course.
Maggie's a nice name, but I bet you've got a nicer one.
Persuasion roll.
You have to make a macro for, sexy check. I'm bringing sexy back.
She kind of,
What?
frowns more. You said you were Gilwyn Gallagher, yes?
Yeah. That's me.
She kind of, looks outside. Make a perception check real quick. And then looks back to you. I imagined you older. I imagined you much older. But it's hard to tell with your kind. You age so quickly.
Well, what's that old saying? Beauty is being old, age is beauty, something like that.
The elves do not have this saying.
Oh, okay. Well, either way.
Do you need to order something?
Let's get down to business. My poor mum, she's a little down on her luck lately. Just wondering if you have a couple of flowers that'll cheer her up a little bit.
We do at working hours. We are about to close for the night. Feel free to peruse if there is if there is something on the stalls that you would quite like. I would happily have you buy it, but for a special order, you'll have to come back in the morning, sir.
But I get to walk in, the store's not closed, you're still here, the flowers are still here. Come on. Gilwyn Gallagher.
Gilwyn Gallagher.
Henry Gallagher.
Give me a deception check. And another perception check. Ooh. Yes, that's what I thought. This Gilwyn must be your middle name. And she does that look, he has that look on her face like, I just found a sale, because she thinks you're rich. I'll happily. She actually stands up from her seat and walks around the table, like has a hand on the table, rubbing along it. Maybe flirty, but also elf. An elf. So many of the elven actions are so like delicate and deliberate that they can be mistaken for flirting when they're just scratching their ass. So, she kind of like, oh, absolutely, your mother must be must have something. Flowers ease the soul, of course. That's what druids believe. That's what my people believe, and I hope that's what you believe. And your mother, of course. We'll find something for you. And with that, I think we'll go to our first break.
Oh man, someone's gonna take a flower in the heart.
Oh. So, we'll be gone for like 7-ish minutes. And that's basically it. Goodbye. See you in a minute.
Girl!